If you're interested in starting a very low-cost, high-intensity personal training business using statics, you're going to love this episode. Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your hit business and fueling your passion for high-intensity training. Today, we are joined by Andy Omel. Andy is a personal trainer, enhancing the lives of his clients using high-intensity training principles and Timed Static Contractions. Since discovering TSC, Timed Static Contraction, in 2021, Andy was inspired by his results to the point where he quit his job in education and sought out certification to become a personal trainer. Although away from a formal classroom, Andy is passionate as ever, instructing his clients using Timed Static Contractions to literally all ages. His Instagram handle is _Andy Omel, and that's how I found Andy. And you can visit him at his website, staticstrong.com. Andy, welcome to the podcast. Great to be with you.
It's a pleasure, Lawrence. And it's kind of funny because I've been listening to your show since Corporate Warrior. And I go back to the Steve Maxwell and the Drew Bay interviews and the Jay Vincent interviews and the Don't Do It Man, Dr. McGuff still resonates with
the
me.
Volcup one, is it that one?
Yeah. Yep. That one. There's so many of them, and it's like to see my name in sort of the roster of a who's who in high intensity training is it's quite an honor, sir.
No, I appreciate that, and it's well deserved. Just a quick backstory on why we're here today is I stumbled across your content on social media. I think the algorithm just fed it to me one day, which will no longer happen because I have all the distraction-free extensions on my browser these days, so I don't fall down those social media rabbit holes.
Sure.
But I'm glad I did on that day because I came across your stuff which is on Instagram, and I was really impressed by your ability to articulate just in pithy formats, the education around high intensity training. You've got a great voice, a great kind of demeanor that resonates. I'm sure it's worked really well for you in terms of
all the boys. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure it's worked well in terms of helping you get customers. But then on top of that, I was really interested to see what you were doing with some of the demos, the Timed Static Contraction work you're doing with your clients. The really simple approach you're taking to ultimately transforming many people's lives. And I found that to be very inspiring to a lot of my audience who might be on a low budget and just figuring out how they can get started.
Sure.
And you're a great example of someone who can do it with practically nothing. Like, you got the four-arm forklifts, is that what they're called?
Sure.
And a few tools.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're good to go. Or outdoor equipment that's already available or whatever, household props. So, yeah, love your content. And obviously, we've already mentioned your Instagram handle. We'll mention it again, _Andy Omel, because I want people to check out what you're doing. Because I also think, so I know I'm rambling now, but I also think that you're a great example for those who want to grow using social media, grow their hit business as well. We can talk more about that in a minute. I could be wrong by that. You're going to tell me that all your business come from referral and other sources, but anyway, it doesn't matter.
No, that's all right.
So tell me, or tell us about your background. Like, what were you doing before all this?
So my background is in education, and for the longest time, I wanted to teach children. That's been my goal. It's been my sort of like my purpose in life was to teach. I'd been teaching since about the age of 18, if you could believe it. Like the Catholic school that I grew up in was looking for somebody to run their library program once a week. And at the age of 18, I kind of, even though I was class clown and kind of, rambunctious and stuff, if you can kind of contain that with maturity, it's engaging, So it's kind of like the right tool at the right time. And so I had my hand at that. And I've pretty much stuck with education for, it was about maybe 15, 16 years. Just different, mostly working in like special needs communities, the autism community primarily. And it was at one of my jobs during COVID. I was always a fitness guy. Okay. And I always kind of, trends come and go. I remember anti-glycolytic training, which was like 1 rep every 10 minutes type of stuff. And then there was the They grease the groove, which is sort of similar. And I kind of dabbled around with high intensity. I remember buying Ellington Darden's new high intensity. And then I bought Body by Science soon after, and I didn't understand it.
Really?
I
Interesting.
didn't get it at the time.
And that happens to a lot of people, by the way.
Yeah.
Who don't, well, who don't actually ever convert, for want of a better word, to high intensity training. Because I gave it to people and they're like, oh yeah, no, I didn't agree with it, or I didn't get it, or something along those lines.
Absolutely, yeah. And I understand sort of the principles of just, high tension, infrequent, really high effort. So I understood that, but there was something that just didn't click with me because I guess the results weren't coming as fast enough.
Okay.
That was my frustration at the time. But then, dabbling with yoga for a long time, I was like riddled with all sorts of like hip and back discomfort and everything. But then I'm watching Steve Maxwell on London Real do this hotel workout with Brian Rose, and he had this orange strap with him. And I had always struggled with like chin-ups and dips. I could do pretty okay, but the body weight squats were always a struggle. Body weight. Oops, sorry, my headphone fell out.
Here.
Body weight rows were always a struggle, but here was something that I could do that was easy, but it was easy to perform but difficult to master. And Timed Static Contractions, I mean, almost immediately, I was like, this is what I've been looking for. This is exactly what I've been looking for. And imbibing myself now. So now I have my hook into high intensity. And now I'm looking at everybody else who preceded me and realizing, oh, so this is why. This is the level of intensity that I need to elicit the, to inroad the body, to generate that stimulus, to get that desired effect. So this is what they were talking about. Because, I like what Drew Bass said in his Timed Static Contraction ebook. He said TFC is perfect for individuals who either, they have poor motor control, they have special considerations, or who do not know how to follow directions well. And I'm like, yo, that's right me. That's me up the alley, because it's essentially you find that position and then you contract, contract against that constrained, isometric for 60 to 90 seconds. And we know that there's that actin and myosin overlap, which is pretty potent in that mid-range position. And you can generate a lot of force that way. And I've said to many of my clients, getting the benefit of multiple repetitions in heavy weight without moving an inch.
I love your tagline. Yeah.
And I was inspired so much by it that I said, you know what? Maybe in about 5 years or so, I'll start a training business. I'll become a trainer or whatever. And as I heard one Orthodox priest say one time, man planned, God laughs. So I
very
true
into
it. And it's been honestly, it's been great. I've been doing this the last 2 or 3 years now. So
didn't something happen, again, if only if you're comfortable talking about this, in your other line of work where something happened where you physically hurt, or you thought to yourself, you know what, I need to like get stronger, or something like that, that motivated you?
I did have something to that effect, but there was a lot of injuries, with my previous line of work, just, stumbles and falls and stuff, because you're working with a population of people who have a diverse amount of needs, and you need to be sensitive to those needs. And if you're kind of overworked and tired, you're gonna make mistakes, and I've, those sorts of things you gotta be aware of. And I thought to myself after a while, there was one incident in particular, which I'm not at liberty to kind of speak about because of guidelines and everything, but it kind of got me thinking, there was an injury that I sustained. Thank God nothing serious, but I was just like, maybe I need to kind of think about my next steps. And I didn't want to leave teaching. Henceforth, the training the training became an avenue for satisfying my need to teach and then do something with something I'm passionate about.
So what were the next steps? Getting certified, and how did you get your first three
So
clients?
yeah, so how I got started was I remember sitting at a bar with my friend. My friend was a barista at the time, and she's a wonderful woman, happily married, as a mom and everything. We used to teach together, and I'm watching an ad from Jay Vincent on his YouTube channel, and he's like, "I can help you start your business with my coaching." And I reached out to him, and I'm just like, "I'd like to try my hand at that." And Jay, and I still talk to Jay. Jay's a great dude. He's a
Yeah.
wonderful resource. And he got me started. And like a lot of things, you know, you can be taught, but then it's up to you to maintain that and then also build upon your prior knowledge. The highest order of thinking and education we always used to talk about was synthesis. It's good to know the information. It's one thing to apply it and to be able to utilize it in a way that's meaningful and has a broad application of things. So that's what I got from him. And now, going in 2 to 3 years in, I'm feeling very confident, not only in my instruction abilities, but also gaining and retaining clients through my small business here.
Yeah, great job. And
Thank you.
yeah, it's just watching some of your videos where you were training. I can't remember the name of the chap now, but he's also a hit guy on Instagram. You're training him outdoors, and your instruction is very good, and it's this. You've got a very sort of charming tone to your voice, and it's the same as you deliver in your videos. So I can see how that
Yeah.
transfers really nice, which you probably honed through your educational teaching background. Yeah, the
It's kind of funny.
tonality.
Yeah, and I think it's this interesting juxtaposition because I have the disposition of a kindergarten teacher,
Right, which
and
is very useful.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I'm also, making sure that, we approach muscle failure. We hit that inroad,
yeah. Actually,
which
that's a good.
so it's kind of like having that dichotomy of sorts,
Right.
like as a coach, it's kind of like when, when do I need to be like empathetic and sweet and kind, and then also when do I need to also,
Hold us.
to sort of apply that belief that I have in them, having that unwavering belief in the person that I'm training, when to kind of like turn it up to 11, so to speak.
Interesting. Got it. So then, so you worked with Jay, which sounds like that was very productive.
Yeah.
I know Jay well. And then what happened thereafter? So how did you go about getting your first few customers?
Let's see. It was kind of funny because it was a someone who had contacted me online through social media, and at the time I had a light social media thing going on, and just posting about my interest in
Okay.
training, not so much like I'm a trainer, but then he was like, "Hey, do you train individuals?" And I'm like, "Kind of not yet." But then when I started my business, I'm like, "Hey, dude, how would you like to, how would you like to, learn time static contractions?" And he's a great dude. Still work with him. He was my first client, and I've seen his body remarkably change, and especially recently because he dialed in, diet stuff, and the intensity is there. But I think one of my favorite things that I did when I first got started was kind of unusual. But so I live in an apartment complex here in New Jersey, and I mostly live with seniors and retirees, and we host like a garage sale seasonally. And I had my little table
Oh,
with
brilliant.
a set of business cards. I had a flyer that outlines what time static contractions, what time static contractions are, and as people were passing by, I had a notebook with just like, sign up for a free session. Two people who signed up that day are still with me.
Cool.
And the one woman, I mean, we're like this, we're super close. And she had heard my pitch all day about time static contractions and, build strength without moving an inch and the principles of high intensity and everything. And she happened to have a tape measure in her pocket. And she pulls out this tape measure and she said, during COVID, I had to have knee surgery. But then the physical therapy ran out and I couldn't do it anymore. So now I have this 1 inch this 1 inch circumference difference between both of my thighs.
Right.
She says, do you think you could help me? I said, absolutely. Mind you, only training like a small handful of people, but I really believe in these principles. I really believe, when Ken Hutchin talks about, the leg press triad that he did, which is essentially what I did,
What is that? Can you describe that to us?
Yeah, it's a static leg press. It's a hip abduction and it's a hip adduction using time static contractions.
Okay.
And I did that with her. Now, this particular woman, in reasonably good shape, in her early 50s, but because of that muscle imbalance, she used to stand up in a chair and throw herself up in order to stand.
Okay.
And that was rough because, she struggled to walk, even though she looked relatively healthy. Within 4 weeks, not only did I get her standing upright better, but she resumed her flamenco dance classes.
Oh, cool.
Doing time static contraction leg press, time static contraction hip abduction, and the time static contraction hip adduction. Simple exercises. And from her, because people who knew her knew how she struggled, that was about, I think, 4 or 5 referrals just from that one person.
Oh, wow. Today's episode is sponsored by Imagine Strength, the game changer in safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training machines. When it comes to HIIT, Imagine Strength is your go-to for intelligently designed, efficient, and affordable equipment. Their team is passionate about HIIT, and it shows in every piece they craft. So why are Imagine Strength the right choice? Number 1, they tailor-make their equipment for HIIT studios. Number 2, they provide cost-effective solutions for your business. And number 3, they are committed to ongoing innovation and refinement. Ready to take your HIIT business to the next level? Visit imaginestrength.com to discuss your needs and find the perfect gear for your studio. Join the HIIT revolution of Imagine Strength and transform your workout experience today. Wow, that's great. What a great story. What about her thigh circumference? Did she remeasure afterwards?
I think there's been I'll be honest, a marginal difference, but her strength has improved remarkably.
The quality of the muscle. Yeah.
I'm still investigating and I love history. So it's kind of like I'm looking at the history of high intensity. You have the Arthur Jones, and then you have the Hutchin school of high intensity and the Menser school of high intensity. And then there's this kind of wiggle room to play around with. So I've been experimenting with her some ways on how to, enhance that hypertrophy in that leg. So yeah, that's been something that I've been looking into, like pre-exhaust and diet obviously is going to be a big component to that too.
More protein, I suspect, play a big role in that.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
I saw pictures of you actually. You were in the local library looking at some old school. That's where you were doing some studying on high intensity training. So is that kind of like a regular thing for you in terms of just studying and learning more about this?
It's funny because it's one of those things where, again, you find a hook, and then through that hook, I guess it kind of primes your mind to sort of be receptive to the information. If you find something that can pull you in, in teaching, we used to call that connecting new learning with old learning. So I've got this old article right here. This is from the exercise standard in 1995. This is Ken Hutchins' original article on Timed Static Contractions, and he was talking about like, how might have been about 91 or 92. Steve Maxwell was kind of influenced by John Little, who, of course, John Little is influenced by, Bruce Lee and Mike Mentzer especially, and how, Hutchins was taking this super slow model and now was applying it to these isometric protocols. Originally, it was 2 minutes. It had 25% effort, 50% effort, 75 and 100% effort in these sort of staged phases, and then was whittled down eventually into 3, 50, 75, and 100 at about 30 seconds. And then there's also some wiggle room to kind of like, extend them or shorten them depending on the individual. I've noticed in my clientele, like, it takes them a little bit longer to approach muscle failure. So I'll extend the set very gradually, but it's neat to look at all this history and look at the groundwork and look what's come before me in this great lineage and pedigree of high intensity training.
Yeah. That's a great way of putting it. Are you familiar with I was talking to Sean McNicholas yesterday, who is a super slow certified guy based in Wales in the UK. And he has a MEDEX setup that is all static contractions, all time static contraction training. So he's got all the, whatever they are, the MEDEX special equipment modules that enable you to do the static. And he does exclusively static training as well.
That's
so
remarkable.
I think you'd be in your element traveling over to Wales to see his setup. I think you'd love that.
I would love to see that.
Yeah. Because I don't know, I'm sure there's probably quite a few people in the States who have that set up too. Do you know of many? Are you aware of any?
I don't know. I don't know of many. I know that there are some franchises that kind of imitate Hutchins's feedback statics model, but yeah, I know I'm the only trainer in New Jersey that I know of that does time static contraction and that sort of thing. It's as we learn more, and as people use this great modality, I'd love to see the new innovations that come out, whether that's machines or some kind of unique contraption. That would be
well. Have you heard of? Just inside my community, high intensity business, they were discussing. Is it SUIF? Am I calling?
Yeah, the SUIF. Yeah,
SUIF. Feedback statics feedback on time static contractions. Yeah, have you played around with that tool at all?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's one. A lot of my clients are motivated by that. There's this again.
Oh, you use it? Cool.
Yes, I do. There's this really great article Hutchins wrote, transitioning from TSC to feedback statics.
Okay.
Phenomenal article on exercise. I like what Ken said about it. He's like, everybody needs to memorize it. It's like, it's such a, even based on exercise alone. So what you do is with the feedback statics, you do with a measuring device, you do a traditional 3-staged time static contraction, about 90 seconds or so. And with a feedback machine, whether that's the SUIF, and I know there's a few other feedback exercise things, you take the middle average, and then the next session or so, or within a few sessions, or however you want to do it, you then coach the client on how to kind of approach that target load and then just hold it for the remaining duration. So say, for instance, if I'm doing a feedback static lateral raise and I'm pushing against the straps of the setup that I have, if I hit, say, 15 pounds in that middle average, the next time I train, I gotta, within the first 30 seconds, hit 15 pounds and either try to meet it or exceed it. So, and that's where a lot of my clients are motivated by, seeing their numbers go up. And then I've had some people who are just like, no, I just kind of like not having to think about it. I rather you
Interesting.
Just coach.
Okay.
It really varies on individuals. So, Me personally, I like a mix of both. I'm all in on statics, by the way, personally, for the way I
Interesting, right?
train myself. I recently gained a bit of weight, so I'm at my heaviest, which is like 147, 148, and I've used statics exclusively.
Okay.
And I've been doing that for like 3 years. So I get attest to, its efficacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been, well, I'd say always been. I am of the belief that all roads lead to Rome. I feel like most of
Sure.
these protocols done long enough, so long as the effort is where it needs to be,
Yes.
so long as
Mhm.
towards failure,
Oh, yeah.
that we're all going to kind of end up where we can get to in terms of our genetic potential. I had a debate with someone, good guy, Bert, recently, which came out just this Wednesday gone. We kind of debated supercell, which I've not done in a long time.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, it's obviously he's of the belief that that his approach is superior, and you would get to your genetic potential that much faster.
Sure.
And I'm still not quite convinced that's true, but
Sure.
I find it really interesting. Yeah,
It's a different flavor, and
I love that style of
Sure.
training for
Mhm.
the
Oh, yeah.
record. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I like what John Little said once. I heard him say something like, "We are all indebted to the Lorem Watkins protocol, and we are all subject to the Henneman size principle, and we just kind of play around with these variables a bit."
Mm.
What I love about the statics is that there's there's this notion of I have to ride this 90 seconds out. There's something to overcome. I mean, these are, constrained isometrics or constrained statics for overcoming isometrics, this protocol. But what I really like about it is that there's this level of satisfaction once I'm finished.
Mm.
There's this kind of I remember Hutchins had mentioned it in the one article. He was just like, when you're doing like a dynamic exercise, there's a lot of times you're kind of in your head and you're kind of readjusting a little bit. Think about like your turnarounds and things like that. Statics, I don't have to think about that.
That's true.
All I need to do is, for me personally, it's like because it's a ramping isometric, we're trying to approach to that 100% effort. So every little exhale, I just push a little bit harder from the 50 to the 100.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it
You're just trying to maintain that intensity level. That's the challenge of TSC, isn't
absolutely.
it?
Yeah, for sure. It's just while it's fresh in my mind, there was this recent study about how isometric training in general, has been known to lower systolic and diastolic blood pressure like better than anything else. This was a new study that came out last year, but they'd been doing it in the fully contracted position, which spikes blood pressure and things like that, but they still found it was efficacious. However, what I love about with time static contractions, everything's done in a comfortable mid-range position. Once again, axon and myosin overlap is quite potent at that roughly 90 degrees, roughly mid-range position. And we're safely approaching muscle failure. We're not like I remember Bruce Lee had the daily dozen isometric workout that he, according to John Little, he did fairly often. And when I did it sort of fairly often, I had a headache for like 2 weeks.
Wow.
It's really, really hard. But like, time static contraction, knowing that I can only, a once or twice a week commitment takes about maybe 15, 20 minutes thereabouts. You can cover the whole body from nose to toes. It's the best way to apply what we have learned on the efficacy of isometrics, but without any of the risks or dangers that are associated with it.
Yeah. We're going to have to do another podcast at some point, Andy, about TSC, just digging into that even more, the technical stuff. Because I think, just to summarize a little bit what you said, I feel like the reason you've been able to grow your personal training business, get referrals, is your passion for the technical work and the craft and delivering these great training experiences. Before we wrap up, can you just speak on, I wanted to make sure we came away from this with just some takeaways as it relates to, so when you said you were posting content, are we talking just mainly Instagram is what you've been using for that?
Instagram and Facebook. You see, my audience is mostly, or my training clients are mostly seniors. Ironically, I started to train kids, young children and teens right now with Timed Static Contraction. So
cool.
I literally teach all ages right now.
Okay, which has been nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
And but my general audience is seniors, and seniors tend to gravitate towards Facebook, which I'm starting. But I like Instagram quite a bit. Made a lot of great associations through it. And that was something that Jay had taught me too. Believe in what you're doing and create value. So when people click on my stuff, when people, I want them to see and to learn something that they haven't heard anywhere else. I'm going to be doing more instructional reels. I've been, like I said, imbibing myself in Ken Hutchin's literature. Unique stuff like doing the time static contraction chest fly, and then doing the time static chest press to try to mimic a converging, chest press mistake. Things like that. I can't wait to share that with the world, basically.
Yeah, excited to see it. So just to make sure I understand this properly. So have you, where you at, if you don't mind me asking, where are you at now in terms of number of sessions per week, or like you said, go ahead.
Yeah. It's blown up quite a bit. So I do about like, I want to say between maybe 30 or 36 sessions a week.
Oh, wow. Since we last spoke, that's a really big climb.
Things blew up.
Good for you, mate. Yeah, that's awesome.
Blew up. And the biggest thing too is in a few minutes after we're done here, I teach a time static contraction class to a group of seniors. And this is something that I could kind of pass along. I meant to pass it along early. It was just one day I just dressed up in a suit and tie, and I had my flyers with me, and I had a little map, and I circled all these retirement homes, and I drove to every single one of them within a 5-mile radius. Hi, my name's Andy Omel. I'm a personal trainer, and give my spiel and everything. And out of those 5 or 6 that I went to, 1 responded.
Okay.
And out of that 1 response, though, I've now accumulated additional people to train, whether that's one-on-one or in a group or whatever.
Because they come to your free group and then they move forward with one-on-one. Is that kind of that's the fun, so to speak?
Yeah. And it's been great, honestly.
Yeah. That's amazing. Great idea.
Oh yeah, and the thing is though, today's pretty kind of a light day to me, so I'm just gonna hang out with them. Like last week, I did a session with them, and they asked me some general questions about health and fitness, and then because I have a curious mind, we were talking about art history and culture and all sorts of stuff. Because it's all of it, all of this stuff, all of education, all of learning is connected tissue. I mean, I think his name is Daniel Kuntz, wrote that great book, Lift, that came out a few years ago.
It rings a bell.
Yeah, it's the history of fitness culture from the Romans to the present day.
Okay.
And, they're the Old Testament.
Good read?
Huh?
Is it a good read?
Oh yeah, fascinating read.
Is it? Interesting.
Yeah, it's just kind of going over our fascination with being healthy through exercise. And King Solomon, the scripture said, "There's nothing new under the sun." We are still finding ways to improve ourselves. We're just finding new ways to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great place to finish. And Andy, so happy for you that things are going so well. And make sure, if you desire more sessions, make sure you follow up with those ones I didn't get back to you, because, it's all in the follow-up, right?
Yes, absolutely.
When it comes to generating leads or sales. Really great to have this conversation. We'll definitely do it again. And best place people to find out more about you is it's the website, right? So
yeah.
What's the URL here? Static Strong. I was going to say super static.
Static Strong. Yep.
staticstrong.com. And again, if they want to connect with you on Instagram, it's _Andy Omel. And I highly recommend you guys check it out, because he does some great videos both education and in terms of like you speaking and also demonstrating training with your clients, which I think is so useful to our colleagues. And again, you guys sort of heard me mention it. We've got our HIV community over at school. If you want to find out more about that, it's highintensitybusiness.com/school, where you get a whole group of people like Luke Carlson and Dr. Doug McGuffin and so on and so forth, help you grow your high intensity training business with community, courses, and calls. Andy, thank you so much for your time. I'll let you go because I know you need to crack on.
Yeah, thank you, Lawrence. It's been a real honor, sir. Because like I said, going from sort of like from a fan of your podcast to now being on it, sir, it's quite a. If you would have told me this 2 or 3 years ago, I wouldn't have believed you. So
that's amazing. It's very, very flattering. It's great to hear that, given that I was very late to our podcast today because I was stuck in traffic. So I appreciate your patience.
Of course.
So really nice to hear that. I very much appreciate it, mate. And for everyone listening, this is Lawrence and Andy with highintensitybusiness.com, and we'll talk to you again very soon. This episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your go-to for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Growing a successful high-intensity training business requires workout equipment that's not only high quality, but also intelligently designed to fit the unique needs of your studio. And that's where Imagine Strength comes in. Drawing on the wisdom of the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength has crafted a groundbreaking line of fitness equipment that's as affordable as it is efficient, giving your studio the upgrade it needs without breaking the bank. The team at Imagine Strength breathes HIIT. Their passion for high-intensity training shines through in their designs, which they've consistently refined and innovated for optimum effectiveness and user experience. From my personal experience at Rec, I can attest to the careful consideration and craftsmanship that goes into every single piece. My Imagine Strength workout was absolutely brutal, in a good way, of course. Now, what makes Imagine Strength truly stand out? They have innovative equipment tailored for the unique needs of HIIT studios, affordable and efficient designs, lowering the barriers to entry for a HIIT business, continuous innovation and refinement ensuring your studio stays ahead of the curve. Founder Jeff Turner and his team are dedicated to moving the HIIT industry forward and making strength training accessible to more people than ever before. Here's how you get started. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, discuss your specific needs with the team. And number 3, select the equipment that will propel your business to the next level. Head to imaginestrength.com today and give your HIIT business the Imagine Strength edge. Be part of the HIIT revolution and see firsthand how their unique equipment can transform your studio's workout experience. Elevate your HIIT business with Imagine Strength. Let's go.